my horror-loving dudes? I'm Killjoy Jake, and today we're going to be talking a little Scream 7. Many of our beloved survivors made it through the events of the last Scream film. Will one of them go Ghostface here in Scream 7? Let's get into it.
Well, sometimes that is better.
Getting right into this, Jasmine Savoy Brown, who portrays Mindy Meeks Martin, recently was in an interview talking about her and her brother Chad if they would go Ghostface at some point in a future movie. She also talked about if Ghostface would go to Hawaii next, and if her dad is maybe Joel Martin, kind of teasing a legacy character being her father. That would be pretty cool. But staying on track here, Ghostface. Will Mindy and Chad go Ghostface? Well, I kind of want to talk about all of the characters that survived the previous film. Do any of them have a shot at being our next killer? Starting off with Mindy and Chad, who, as Jasmine Savoy Brown said, would be a unit in this situation. They'd probably be working together trying to kill everybody. Would this be plausible? I think not. One of the biggest elements to our villain in this franchise is that they always have a different motive, and it's always something very strong, and if it wasn't, it wouldn't really work. I just don't see why Mindy and Chad would want to kill anybody else in the Core 4, or Sidney Prescott, Gale Weathers. Why would they want to go after these characters? I don't know. One of my favorite elements to the Scream franchise is our red herrings. There are many characters who could be the killer, and you can kind of see why. You get little inklings of that throughout. I think Cotton Weary is maybe the best example of that, but then they don't end up actually being the killers. It's almost like a fake out in a way to kind of misdirect you, so you're not looking at the person who actually is the killer. But then you also have naturally good characters that you would never expect would be the killer, and they never do become the killer. Like Sidney Prescott will never be a Ghostface killer, and if they did that, I'd be jumping ship. Mindy and Chad are both kind of those characters to me. I mean, if we want to compare them to characters from the past, this is essentially like saying Randy and Dewey are going to be our next Ghostface killers. Both Dewey and Chad are very hard on the outside, but very soft on the inside. Some might even go so far as to say that they're erect on the outside and flaccid on the inside. No one would say that, actually. Literally no one would say that. Never mind. While Randy and Mindy both know a lot about horror movies, they watch them because they really like them. I would argue that Billy and Stu watched horror movies because they wanted to get more creative. I don't know if they were like crazy big horror fans. They just are aware of them and watch them to possibly get more creative with their kills, as they kind of talk about in the third act of the first Scream movie. So will Mindy and Chad go Ghostface? I'm gonna say no. I just don't see a reason why they would want to kill their friends or, well, anybody else. All right, let's get through 5 more characters that could potentially be our Ghostface killer, including Danny, Kirby, Gale, Tara, and Sam. And no, I'm not putting Sydney on this list. I'm not a madman. Getting into our next potential Ghostface, Daniel Brackett, a character who was very suspicious in the previous entry. Could he be our Ghostface killer in 7? My big thing about Danny Brackett in Scream 6 was I just felt like his character was a little strange and a little, I don't want to say unnecessary, but he was just so understanding to a point where I just don't really know what the point of his character really was. Why did he survive? Why was he not a meatbag for the slaughter? What they should have done with Danny's character is just make him like a little protective. Like maybe at first he's like, yeah, you know, like, okay, everything's fine, Sam. But as things start to ramp up, maybe he starts getting a little more protective of Sam, and Sam's like, yo, dude, back off, man. That also could have served as a catalyst for Sam to realize, oh, maybe I'm being a little too overprotective of Tara. Like, look at what this guy's doing to me. I'm basically doing that to Tara. I should stop. Another thing I would change about Danny's character is I would kill him in the runtime of Scream 6. I like Danny, but I don't know what they're gonna do with this character moving forward. Instead of stabbing Chad like a million times and then having him live through that, what if Danny Brackett snuck into the theater to try to save his girlfriend, and he's like, oh, well, dude, I had to protect her. I don't know what the heck's going on. And then he gets stabbed to death by 2 ghost faces at the same time. That would have been fucking awesome. We unfortunately didn't get that with Danny, though. He did live through the events of the last movie, so he'll be coming back for Scream 7, as Josh Segarra confirmed in an interview recently. I'm not gonna directly say no to Danny going Ghostface. Honestly, I'm not 100% against it. Like, there's a route that they could take where it could work. But me, personally, I think that he would be better utilized as an opening kill for the next movie. I'm not really as invested in Danny as I am some of the other characters. Like, actually making him a Ghostface would be pretty interesting, because then you'd add another side to him that we have yet to explore, and that's what this character needs if we're going to build him up to be a legacy character. So I'm pretty 50-50 with Danny. I say they either make him Ghostface or they kill him in the next movie, or just do something more with his character instead of just being the most understanding boyfriend of all time. Give him an arc, give him something to struggle with throughout a movie. Now moving on to Kirby Reed. Before Scream 6 came out, I was theorizing that maybe Kirby could be our Ghostface killer, but now to see where they have taken her character, I just don't think that would be the case moving into a future movie. Going into Scream 6 though, we had no idea what Kirby would be like as a character. She's not gonna be the same rebellious teenager that she was in Scream 4. That's just not the case when she's now like almost, what, 30 probably now? She's gonna be a totally different character. She's had an entire life after the events of Scream 4, so I knew she was going to be different moving into Scream 6. They definitely had an opportunity to make her Ghostface, but that was it, and it passed. Now that she's an FBI agent that is literally tracking down Ghostfaces, I just don't see why she herself would become a Ghostface killer. She already has the power. She wants to take down some killers, and she's an inherently good person too. I don't think that she would go Ghostface. They'd also be repeating the exact same thing they did in the previous film moving into the next one, making the authority character the killer the whole time. And I guess it's like a little different because she's an FBI agent versus a New York police officer, but still, it's basically the same thing. I think it would just be better utilization of the character if Kirby was working with the survivors versus against them. Gale Weathers is up next. I don't even have anything witty to say about this character. If they make her the killer, they have fucked up. While Gale, yes, is not an inherently good person, as we saw in Scream 6, she writes books about killers, glorifying them, and kind of accidentally started that rumor about Sam, even though, yes, that was Detective Bailey's doing. But still, she's very greedy and profited off of something that she promised she wouldn't profit off of from the previous movie before Scream 6. While Gale and Sydney are very different characters, I kind of have the same reasoning for why I wouldn't want either of them to go Ghostface this late in the game, because it's late in the game. Why would they go Ghostface now versus like 3 movies ago? The idea of waiting this long to get your revenge makes no sense. One big positive I will give to Mrs. Loomis, something I don't usually give to her, is that she immediately got her revenge after her son was killed in the previous film. If they would have waited until Scream 3 to do Mrs. Loomis as a killer, that would have made absolutely no sense. Her timing, if nothing else, was good. So will Gale be the killer in the next movie? No, come on. Come on, y'all. Gale Weathers? No, she's not our killer. Moving into the final 2, we have Tara going Ghostface in Scream 7. Will it happen? This seems to be one that's a little more 50-50 in my comment section that I've been seeing. A lot of people want to see Tara go Ghostface, and for good reason, honestly. Jenna Ortega plays a pretty good, like, somewhat pseudo-villain, I guess. Was Wednesday really a bad guy in that series? I mean, like, kind of at the beginning. She does some pretty evil things, but ultimately does the good thing in the end. It's arguable, sure, but I would argue that she plays characters that have a villain aesthetic that are inherently good. So I'm not saying that Jenna Ortega wouldn't play a great Ghostface. In fact, I think out of everyone on this list, she would maybe play one of the better ones for sure. But I just don't think it would make sense with where her character is going in Screams 5 and 6. The comment that I get the most often about Tara going Ghostface is that her motive would be that she's sick of Sam being so overprotective. But like, didn't we just tackle that issue in Scream 6? The whole arc between the sisters was that Sam's gotta let her sister go, and she literally lets her sister go and drops her. It's not the greatest use of visual storytelling I've ever seen, but it worked. It worked for the scene, and we got a cool kill out of it. Ethan certainly died a virgin, that's for sure. So will Tara go Ghostface in the next movie? I'm gonna say no, even though I totally get why people want to see Jenna Ortega play a Ghostface killer. I think if she wasn't already playing Tara, yes, like absolutely make her the Ghostface killer, but they've done way too much with her character at this point. I just don't think it would make sense. She is an inherently good character. I don't think she would go Ghostface. And then Samantha Carpenter. Will she go Ghostface in Scream 7? Maybe. Ever since I was a little Ghostface baby and I saw Scream 4 for the first time, I have always wanted to see a movie from the Ghostface's perspective. That's what I'm the most fascinated with when it comes to the Scream franchise. I think that the Ghostface killers are so interesting. Every single one is different, and they all have a different reason to be doing what they're doing. I'm fascinated by it, and I want to learn more about it. So if we do get a movie from the Ghostface's perspective, it should be a character we're already pretty familiar with, like Sam. It would be pretty cool if she went Ghostface and started hunting down other Ghostfaces. So you kind of question if you should be rooting for her or not. Is she right in her morals, or is she a hypocrite for kind of doing the exact same thing the killers that she's hunting are also doing? Around the interwebs, people have talked about some of the cons of this, and one of them is that it just wouldn't be mysterious if Sam was the Ghostface killer. But once again, I just don't think it would be a big old mystery. Sam would have good intentions if she went Ghostface, I think. She wants to kill the other people who are doing these awful things to their friends around the world, perhaps. In the previous 2 Scream films, we set it up that there's this Reddit thread filled with people who believe the same things that Richie does from Scream 5. The last Stab movie sucked, so we need to give Hollywood better ideas by killing our friends and showing them, hey, here's how you make a Ghostface movie. So what if Sam was just like, hey, you know, I'm not too big a fan of that. I'm gonna shut that down with a knife and a robe and a mask and intel from Kirby because they're friends. Would Kirby give her that information? I don't know. Maybe. We can make that work in a plot. So will Sam go Ghostface? I mean, it's pretty 50-50 in my opinion. I would love for something like that to actually happen in one of these movies. Will it though? I don't know. If I had one big wish for Scream 7 though about who the Ghostface killer is going to be, whether it's a returning character or somebody brand new, I just hope they break the mold even more than Scream 6 did. I want them to completely change up the format because I don't really want this franchise to turn into Fast and the Furious. I really love that franchise too, and it's super over the top and goofy, but I think that's Scream is a little more sophisticated than that. Does the Scream franchise have its goofy moments? Of course it does. Scream 3 is the majority of them. But when this franchise takes itself seriously and it has a message behind what it's trying to do with all of its goofy kills, I think it has something powerful to say every single time, and I love that. That's what brings me back to this franchise to see what they'll comment on next. But to have the character of Sam Carpenter go Ghostface to kill the people who are saying that Hollywood is running out of ideas, there's something to be said about that. There's something that they're clearly trying to say there that I find very fascinating. So I ask you, wary YouTube watcher, do you want to see a legacy character go Ghostface or not? Leave me something about it in the comments below. Do you want a legacy character to go? Do you want someone to go yogurt? Do you want someone in the Scream franchise to eat yogurt? Leave me something about it in the comments below.